AI will not replace marketing, but marketing folks who are directing AI will definitely replace the ones who are not working with AI.
Welcome to The Brief. Today we have a very, very interesting guest with us. We have Atul Sharma, who's been in the enterprise segment for a very long time, played a lot of senior roles within marketing in the enterprise segment within AWS, HP, and now holds a marketing role in Cockroach. I don't know if you've heard about the company, but Atul is here to tell us more about himself and the role he plays within Cockroach Labs. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Rishi. You just dated me by saying I've been here for a long time.
It's a pleasure to have you. In fact, Atul is somebody that I have worked with for a very long time, even at Exito. I think it's been a decade while he was at AWS. And currently, we are also engaging with a lot of campaigns within Cockroach Labs. So let's start with, what is the shift that you're seeing in B2B marketing over the years that you've been within this space?
I started earlier in sales, right? And I think as a marketer, starting your career with sales and then paving your path towards marketing makes a huge difference.
Okay.
And if you want, I can unpack that a bit more, right? So just to give you some context, I actually started in sales with HP. And the intent was that unless and until you know the realities of the field, you will not be able to become an effective marketer. And that's when I moved my path towards marketing. And since then, I've been in marketing. Now, going back to your earlier question, I think the B2B marketing space has drastically shifted. When I joined marketing, the B2B marketing space had to be created because whenever everybody spoke about marketing and business, they would normally go to B2C. So
Right.
B2B was supposed to be the art, the craft, and more of a party planner kind of a thought process.
I think while you were growing up, I think you would have seen all these fancy ads
Yes.
coming up and you thought that was marketing, right?
Absolutely. And that is where I think majority of the people who join marketing always get fancied by the ad space and think that's what marketing is. And let's pick up that piece because that's the first mega shift that I've observed in B2B, which means that just having a creative bent of mind doesn't make you a good B2B marketer, right? The time is majorly shifted towards data. And how I say it is that it's no longer a madman era, but a mathman era, right? So as a B2B marketing leader, you're expected to know your numbers really well. So it has to be married with your gut feel, but unless and until you can back it up with strong data points or which direction you want to get into, you will not be able to make it. Second point, I think, if you look at marketing was always an afterthought when you talk about B2B.
Right.
You will always have a strong sales leader who will say, this is the strategy you want to get into, and now all functions come together and tell us what will you do to help me achieve it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that over a period of time, at least personally, I feel that I've always been fighting that marketing needs a space on the big adult table, which means that my request to sales is always don't think of a GTM as an afterthought in marketing. Build me into the whole mix when you're building a GTM model. And the thought process is that, if you want somebody just to execute on your vision, you can always, take care of somebody who's just figuring out marketing and want to get into it. But if you're looking at very seriously how marketing can help you achieve what you want to, then marketing needs to be involved way before the whole GTM thought process lands. Right? So that's the second shift that I've seen. Thirdly, the proverbial lead generation funnel, right? When I started being in marketing, everything was measured via a funnel. So what you'll do is you will try and build campaigns and events and think through to put your customers will move through a proverbial funnel. Now, don't take me wrong. I'm not saying that the lead generation funnel is dead. But what I'm saying is the lead generation funnel assumed that there is already a demand in the market,
Right.
and you are just trying to get that demand into conversion. But the reality now is that it's all about demand generation. So the main shift I am seeing is it's not about catch the fish wherever they're in plenty. The idea is how do you build the storyline around it before you get into the whole story.
Got it. So in the first place, what got you into marketing, right? What excited you about marketing? I think that's something out of curiosity, is something that I would like to ask you. What was it, a planned career move that you decided, okay, I want to get into marketing, or I think as you started your career, you felt, okay, this is where I need to be?
Right. Which is a great question, right? And I believe if you, most of the marketers I meet, the traditional journey has been they were engineers and then they moved into marketing, right? My journey is pretty much on the same lines, but the reasons might be a little different. So when I did my engineering, because that time
Oh, you're an engineer
I
back.
am.
Oh,
I'm an electronics and telecommunication engineer. And when I did my engineering uh, and I looked around me, I realized that everybody was a better engineer than me. Right? So I realized, okay, if this space has so many good engineers, will I be able to make a strong cut? And the answer to myself was not really. So that time, the call center industry was booming in India.
which I was part of at the first year of my
Lovely.
career.
So one more thing we have in common. So when that industry was booming and they came to campus for hiring, the good engineers thought that that's below them, that they
Okay.
want to be in serious, engineering jobs.
Right.
Whereas I took this as an opportunity because I had always realized that whenever this engineers who were good and they wanted to pitch an idea or present their findings, they would usually push me ahead to give those findings and share that. So I realized that I had one skill which clearly the good engineers didn't have. And that's when I joined the BPO industry, which helped me actually hone my skills on communication.
So it was
gave me-
sales
It was sales,
to
right?
the US market?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I did two different projects. One was sales, second was tech support. So
Okay.
HP was running a program. I joined IBM Daksh, and that's how I spent about a year and 2 years there. Having said that, of course, when you spend some time in BPO, you realize that I'm learning something, but can I make a profession out of it? Is when I realized not really. And similarly, something else happened to me. I went for a evening catch up with somebody, and I met somebody, and they said, I really like your voice. Would you be happy anchoring a show for me?
Wow.
Which meant I was getting paid in an hour, which clearly at that time sounded very exciting. So I started doing some free gigs of anchoring.
Oh,
That's
nice.
paved my path to get into event management. Then I joined an event management company to run events for them, do business development. I did that for about 2 years and I said, okay, this is a good profession to be in. But again, can I do this all my life? And the answer was no. I might have to go for an MBA to get into the business side.
Right.
That's how I did my MBA and I kind of majored in marketing. When I did my marketing, I always knew that now that I've understood this world a little bit, I want to get into marketing. But that is when I realized that to be taken as a good marketeer and a serious marketeer, you need to have some base in sales. So I did my summer project with HP. They gave me a pre-placement offer, and I joined HP as a salesperson based out of Pune.
Cold calling?
Cold calling and actually on-field sales selling.
Wow.
I did that for about a year. Then I was given a territory for Nasik and Aurangabad. Did that for about a year and finally paved my path towards marketing because one senior lord thought that this kid has something in him and can be leveraged in marketing.
And you were still doing your gigs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
When I finished my MBA, I didn't because I didn't have time for
Yeah.
that much. But pre-MBA, absolutely I did.
Nice. So from your early days, I think you've played a lot of roles. I think you did emceeing. I think you did sales. Um, any key takeaways? Any lessons you've learned over the journey of going through all these roles?
Absolutely, Rishi. Rishi, the good point is when you look back, it's only that's when you're able to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Now, rewind all of that back and see what all did I do before I joined marketing. And the best part is everything which I did from my engineering to my first job of marketing has helped me become a better marketer.
Of course.
Because I worked in a call center, now when I work with my SDR teams, I understand how they can play the system because I played the system.
Exactly.
Right? When you as a marketer run big format events, you understand the nuances of operations, you understand the operation, the thought process of how to do telecalling, the part of audience generation, because I
Execution.
did
Yeah.
that when I was in events. And then of course, sales help you in everything. My guidance to everybody who wants to build a career in business in whichever function they want is always start with sales. I think the amount of crash course learning that you get in a year to 2 years in sales will take about 4 years in any other profession. So looking back, I would not change anything. I would say everybody should try and test different professions before they make up their mind, because only then you unpack yourself and realize, what am I good at? How can I use this in a better way to become a better professional?
Exactly. I'm a sales guy too. I started my career in sales. A good 5 to 6 years was in sales, and I think that's been the best learning for me in even operating a business or even starting a business, because for every business to survive, you have to sell,
Absolutely.
right? And I think in at any given point in time that you actually put your mind to or work every day, you have to sell something.
Yes.
Could be an interview,
Yeah.
could be marketing. End of the day, you're still trying to sell something, right?
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah.
As a CMO of a company,
Hmm.
you need to be selling to the board, to the sales team, to your
Yeah.
internal stakeholders. Unless and until you're a good salesperson to represent your function,
Yeah.
you will not be able to get what is required for your function to be successful.
Exactly.
And in general, for the whole company to be successful. So sales and that bone is very, very important.
Fair enough. I think this is a good advice to a lot of people starting their careers, is to step into the shoes of a sales guy, at least for a year or two, understand what the sales guys go through, and definitely I think it would be a good foundation to whatever you're doing in the
Oh,
future, right?
absolutely. Right. One more finding, if I might add, is that never let your designation define who you are.
Correct.
Now, if you look at my designation over last 2 decades, I've never been a CMO,
Yeah.
but I've always been calling myself a CMO in my mind,
Hmm.
because that thought process of yours, when you think that I own this function or business, makes you a very different person.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if I was just an account manager and I consider myself only an account manager, the way I think or the mindset I'll have in comparison to considering myself as the owner of that territory and region is very different. Where I call myself as the founder's mentality, right?
Yeah.
Unless and until I have that thought process in my mind, I will function and do things which is right for my business. So for marketers, whenever I work with some, I say, would you spend your money in this event or this tactic or this thing if it was your business?
Yeah.
And the answers you get is very different than thinking I have to spend my company's money. Right? So founder's mentality is very, very crucial no matter which role you play with.
Exactly. So I think it's the culture that you build within your team.
Absolutely.
So important. So let's talk about your current role,
Mhm.
Cockroach DB, right? How does your day look like at your workplace? Where do you spend most of your time, right? Where is your time really spent on people, strategy, or execution? If you could just elaborate a little bit.
Sure, Rishi. Great question. Rishi, let me just try and give you some background, right?
Yeah.
I've worked for big brands like AWS and HP, and then I worked for some challenger brands
Hmm.
like Commvault and now CockroachDB. I think I look at this as an old way of working and a new way of working.
Yeah.
The way you function in a challenger brand has to be very, very different, right? And let me put some context to it. If I was working for a big brand, ideally, even before I enter the office or open my laptop, the day is already defined for me,
Okay.
which means that my calendar is already choco blocked with people who want something from me
Hmm.
and want me to help them achieve. So I'm just basically a highly paid task executor,
Okay.
right? But when you look at a challenger brand approach the way I am right now, my day starts with signals. So I purposely invest time into looking around me and reading, say, an ET or a podcast to understand what's happening
In the
in this
market.
industry
Mm-hmm.
and go beyond the industry and say what's happening in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Then I distill those thoughts into specifics of whatever is happening in this industry and the world, how does it impact my business? And when I distill those thoughts, is then I put that context to my business and say, okay, now there are no so much is happening and changes that moving forward. How can I either tap into it, or then I work with my sales leaders or my functional leaders to understand what needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
So my day, in short, starts with signals and thoughts before I get into the minutia of the day. Right. Second thing, I always believe that as a marketer, you need to be on the field, right? And the analogy I normally use is that I don't want to be the sports commentator. I want to be the field captain. When you're sitting in a commentator's box, everything looks green and nice. So I can be a highly paid, commentator who tells, okay, my dashboard looks great, my MQLs are looking fabulous, and I'm doing great on my numbers. But when you get into the details and maybe sales is not able to get the business they want, then what am I doing as a marketing leader? So I'd rather be on the field and
Mm-hmm.
be the field captain where I need to understand the pitch of how the boys are going to play today. I need to understand who is my top batsman and whether this pitch will support that or not.
So do you huddle up in the morning?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if I don't huddle up, I ensure that I reach out to my team members every day and a different cohort, different day to
Okay.
understand what are they thinking, what are their roadblocks today, so I can try and mitigate those or help them unlock the potential which otherwise I would not been able to get to know if I have not spoken to them. So people is very, very important part of my business. As a marketing leader, I think 2-3 things that you should really look after is one, people.
Yeah.
Secondly, being the empathizer of understanding where they're coming from. And I tell my sales leader like this, right? As a sales leader, they're always chasing closures and numbers.
Yeah.
So they will act like a father to their team, saying, you got to do this is what you got to do. As a marketing leader, you need to be the mother. You need to be the nurturer. You need to be the supporter. You need to be the motivator to make sure that the field feels comfortable in achieving what they're expected to achieve. So that's a short answer of what my day looks like.
Okay. So since you talked about MQLs, and I'm sure there's also SQLs to it, um, how B2B marketing has evolved from lead generation to demand generation, right? I don't think it's volume alone, right? It's also the quality that you give to your sales guys to close. I also would like to add another question to that. For a B2B marketer, what does a KPI look like? Right? Because I'm sure you hold a lot of budget.
Of course.
How do you get your budgets, or how do you get more budgets from your company every year?
Yep.
So I just want to have these two questions aligned.
Sure. Rishi, they are great questions, and I think we can do one podcast on each question, right?
Of course.
But we will try and pick up one after the other.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at the lead generation versus the demand generation question, it's a very, very important question.
Yeah.
I think lead generation formed the basis of B2B marketing for a long time, right? And lead generation was all about capture, but not about creation.
Yeah.
Right? What it meant was that classically you would assume that the B2B buyer moves through a funnel,
Okay.
which means the assumption was that it's going to be a linear movement. B2B buying is anything but linear,
Yeah.
right? So a B2B buyer might jump from one tactic to another tactic, will go in loops for some time, right? Will enter your funnel and then bounce back, then re-enter the funnel because some of his colleagues said this is a good brand to work with. And then if he or she enters the funnel again, they enter the funnel by talking to the salesperson and not marketing person. So in the lead generation model, you could not cater for all of this,
Yeah.
right? About 5 years back, Gartner printed a report on B2B buying, and they said that an average buying decision has anything between 10 to 15 buyers,
Okay.
which kind of unpack the world of B2B in buying committees and not buying individuals. So a lead generation model typically catered to buying individuals, whereas demand generation now caters to a B2B cohort of people, which is on average is about 10 to 15 people. Second point, if you look at the same report, say in 2020 and the report now, in 2020 it said that an average B2B buyer would have covered 59% of their buying journey even before they speak to a sales guy. I let that sink in. 59%. Now, if you look at that stat now, it's about 71% of the buying journey is already done before that person speaks to a salesperson.
So
Which means
it's all about building trust.
it is, which
Yeah.
means that the B2B buying customer would have a strong opinion even before he or she comes to you.
All right.
So, if any marketer is making a thought process and assumption that my customer is not smart, think again. These are smart people who learn in communities now and test their thought process in a peer group. So there's nothing you can hide or not serve this customer which they already don't know. Right? So you have to build an ecosystem of demand generation where you are present in as many touch points as you can in front of this customer. So if and when they are in the market to buy, they think of you. Right? Just because somebody downloaded a white paper and you give that as a lead to your salesperson to call through, when the salesperson calls, the customer says, I just wanted the PDF, that's not a lead. Right? But yes, is content creation important? Very important. So these customers are buying through podcasts.
Yeah.
They are learning and growing by the peer groups. They're getting into events. So you need to make sure that your touch points to this journey is way more deeper than what it is right now. So that's the major difference. The lead generation was meant to capture, whereas the buying journey is meant to recall, which is ensure that you're around them. So if and when they are buying, they think of you.
Great. I think we'll take this some other time. I think maybe offline, because it's going to take too much time
Of course.
of trying to understand how do you build trust.
Yep.
Right? Because it's a long journey. It's
Yep.
not that you do one or two campaigns and
Agreed.
you build trust. I
Yep.
think it's over time. Somebody needs to know you, and I think when you strike a conversation, like you said, they already need to know you and what you're known for.
Yes. And to your point, building trust is easy to say,
Yeah.
but difficult to do, right?
Yeah.
And especially timing is important.
Yeah.
Right? As I say, it is that you got to date your customer before you propose marriage. If you
Nice
ask
way
the
to put it.
question too soon, you know the answer. It's
Yeah.
not going to go in the direction you want to.
Exactly.
Right? So, and unless and until you know enough about your customer, you should not be bringing up the question, which is where invest in learning your customer before you even go that route.
Exactly. I think I think for anybody, I think that's why sales matters a lot. Even if you're trying to sell somebody, it's important to know their background, their interests. I think it's a great way to start the conversation and then eventually close. So I think it's the same foundation. End of the day, fundamentals remain the same.
Yeah.
But I think trust is a very important word when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, and end of the day doing business, right?
Agreed.
So I think while we have covered all of this, I still have that question. What does a KPI look like for a B2B marketer? Because I am personally very curious,
Sure.
right?
No, I think you're asking the right question. I think every organization I've worked for, the KPI conversation is always there,
Yeah.
and it has been changing up and down every time.
Right.
Is there a right KPI model that everybody can pick and choose? The answer is not really. I think everybody is still figuring out the
Yeah.
thought process. But I think I can talk about how the KPI has in a way evolved.
Yeah.
Right? I think if you look at the GTM thought process, the earlier GTM was more like a relay.
Yeah.
And what it meant was marketing will say, I've got a lead. They pass on that baton to sales, saying, sales, please now take it forward. Sales picked up that baton and say, okay, I've spoken to the customer, but the customer needs this functionality. And then they pass on the baton to the product team. Right? So everybody was passing the baton to the next team, hoping that you get the result that you want to in the end, which is a sale.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds good, but the truth was that any single drop of that baton in the relay race leads to disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
And the customer felt every drop,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, how ideally a GTM and a KPI thought process should ideally work is more like all the teams in a boat where they are paddling together. So if even one team doesn't paddle in the right direction or the right speed, the whole boat will not move forward.
Mm.
Which is where I come back to your earlier question, which is the KPI of the marketing department should be tied to
The
all
entire
the
team.
KPIs of the GTM team.
Right.
If you are goaling a marketeer without goaling the sales team in the same thought process, you will have discrepancies between the functions. So the best KPIs I've seen is that the marketing leader has a variable income
Mm-hmm.
which is dependent on the success
Performance. Yeah.
of sales. Because then you have the marketing department skin in the game that you got to make sure that sales deliver on those numbers, only then you make your money.
So then they are constantly pushing each other.
Absolutely, which is healthy tension,
Yeah.
right? I don't like wanting every function to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I think comfort in today's business
It's poison.
is poison, right? You can't be comfortable and still achieve what you want to. As there was somebody rightly said, only paranoid survive,
Yeah.
right? Which is what the business today looks like. I hope it answers a part of the question.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think with all of this, the place I come from, B2B events, I think also plays a key role in B2B marketing, right?
Yeah.
So where do you see B2B marketing fitting into your funnel? Rather, I think you've also played a lot of roles in multiple companies, right?
Yep.
Where do you think B2B events has really helped you in personally in filling up your funnel?
Great question. Rishi, I think if you look at marketing, marketing is a mix of multiple tactics.
Exactly.
Right? Where events is one of those tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while the importance of different tactics as marketing have moved up and down, I think the importance of the events tactic has
Mhm.
always remained. And the reason for that is that if you ask sales, where do they see marketing playing the most important role? The answer will always be events. It is the conversation that the sales team has with their customers in events is what moves the needle, right? And given a choice, they will always come back to live face-to-face events. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look at COVID. COVID, everybody went back to the virtual events because there was no other option that time.
Yeah.
The moment COVID finished, everybody came back. They came back with vengeance to face-to-face events because everybody saw value in that, right? Also, specifically in B2B marketing, if you ask me, I always tell that B2B marketers need to focus on the first 6 letters of marketing, which is market, right? And unless and until you are in the field with your sales team, understanding and meeting customers, you will never get a grasp of marketing. So understand what's happening in the market is only when you are on the field. And now I look after an APAC portfolio. I purposely staggered my events in such a way that I'm able to attend at least, if not all, 85% of my events, because what I
Wow.
learn on the field, I will never be able to understand that sitting in my cubicle of an announcer. So what I learned from here, I take back those learnings, go back, work on my strategy again, say, okay, this seems to be working and this doesn't seem to be working, right? In today's time, because it's such a dynamic world, you can't have a strategy which will survive you for 5 years,
Exactly.
but you can't have a strategy which changes every quarter too. So it's a very fine balance. So what I do is I build for the quarter, but I think always year long, right?
That's a great
what it-
takeaway. Yeah, great takeaway because I think a lot of people think marketing is just sitting in the office, on your desk, creating strategies, using tools, creating demand, and giving leads to the sales guys. But I think from what you have said, all the 85 events is something that you try to attend, if
Yes.
not, at least attend most of them.
Yeah.
Is definitely something that we all need to reflect on because only once you meet the customer, know your customer, see what they want, you'll only be able to deliver better campaigns,
Absolutely.
right? I think this is definitely a great takeaway. While you still have a lot of marketeers think that, okay, sitting in the office,
Yes.
strategizing on the board, right? Everything looks fancy, but
Yep.
it's not. So marketing is not an easy job, end
Yep.
of the day,
Yeah, because
right?
maintaining the status quo is always easy.
Yeah.
It is the people who go out and kind of shake up the boat
Hmm.
is what's important,
Yeah.
right? Because until you do that, you will not be able to learn anything.
Yeah. Now, in the midst of all of this, I think you do work with a lot of AI.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from my opinion, I think ChatGPT came in 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It has
Sounds like
evolved.
forever though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's evolved quite a bit. I think we are training it to get better.
Yes.
So, from your experience, how has AI helped you?
Right.
I know there's also a lot of hype about AI agents and stuff. Have you implemented it within the organization, or is there something you feel that AI has really impacted the way you do things?
Sure. Great question. Interestingly, no event or no podcast discussion can happen without AI now, right? And that's what the whole conversation is all about.
Yeah.
But Rishi, let me zoom out and talk about AI in general, right? So normally, I put AI into three broad buckets.
Mm-hmm.
One is the reality,
Mm-hmm.
one is the hype, and
Mm-hmm.
one is actionable,
Sure.
right? Now, I'll pick up one by one and then talk about it, right? So if you look at AI being real, I look at AI as a functional thought process where it can do multiple things which earlier you had to do, which I call it as a force multiplier. So AI is a force multiplier where you definitely should be able to leverage that. And what it means is, as a marketing leader, if you're not using AI as an ideation engine,
Mm-hmm.
you are basically missing out a lot of opportunity and time.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, I will definitely leverage every single tool available where it helps me ideate better, save time, and become more productive.
Exactly.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where the realism of AI is, which is you got to leverage it in your advantage. The hype part is that AI will replace B2B marketing, or the utopian thought process that I will be chilling on a beach and AI will do my job. That's hype. I think B2B has a lot of ambiguity to the way we function. It also has a lot of context which you need to have as a human. And also, it's all a lot about relationships which AI will never be able to have, right? So it's clearly a hype that will replace everything. But yes, marketing. So how I summarize this is that AI will not replace marketing, but marketing folks who are directing AI will definitely replace the ones who are not working with AI,
Yeah.
right? So it's a tool that you need to have in your quiver set, but it will not become the answer for everything you want to,
Exactly.
right? Last but not least is actionable part of it. I think AI is clearly an actionable phase. It's improving drastically. And the first thing that, as a marketing function, you need to accept is it's here to stay. If you're thinking it's another wave, it's going to pass, not really.
And if not, get better as well.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I think you need to acknowledge that it's going to be an important part. And I
Mm.
know of multiple use cases where AI can be leveraged on advantage. For example, if you look at my business, I can clearly define virtual personas of who am I targeting to and play a Q&A round with AI and say, will this message resonate with you? Which otherwise would have taken my agency for 3 to 6 months can happen over a week now, where I can test different models to ideate. Second, creatives. The
Yeah.
amount of money as B2B we spend on different emails, content writing, creative making can all be short sighted and made in AI in a better format. And even if it's not to the T, I can live with it because it saves me money.
Yeah.
Any money saved or funds saved from the use of AI can be redeployed. And I love my time. If I can get back my time and use it for something more productive, why not? So a lot of people think that AI is going to spoil the whole balance. I'm saying AI will allow you to be more human, because whatever time I save from that, I can redeploy for building relationships, doing things which as a human I was not able to do because AI is going to do it for me now.
Exactly. Even order food for now. I think
Yeah.
if you see, you can even order food from Swiggy on
Oh,
ChatGPT,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are
So I
different
think,
use cases and they'll keep growing.
yeah, they'll keep growing. And I think it's, for me, I think AI has made me more efficient with my time,
Uh-huh.
right? Sometimes, even writing an email, all I need to do is give AI the context of what I want to write, and
Mhm.
it would just write it like this, right?
Exactly. And
So,
that time that you save
hmm,
is time kind of extracted back where you can put it in your team,
yeah,
think about fresher ideas, a newer event, a newer relationship, which is worth your time. So it's making you more human.
exactly. Um, Now, when it comes to AI, for the people watching, is there something that you could give them in terms of the tools that you are using and you felt that has really helped you, or if not, the tools they could possibly use? Because I think there's enough amount of tools in the market. I think content creators are just pushing even more tools to people and confusing them,
Yep.
right? If there's something, some tangible products that you have, or something that you've used have really helped.
Sure. I think like you said, there are abundance of tools there, and I think
Yeah,
most of the tools are still in the learning phase of it,
right.
right? But I would encourage everybody who's watching this to first of all start experimenting,
Yeah.
because, like I said, I know a lot of people who are sitting on sidelines and waiting for things to settle down
Hmm.
and then trying to get into it. So first, stop waiting and first dive into it, right? So you
Mhm.
got to start testing. Secondly, no one tool will be an app tool for anybody and everybody. So
Yeah.
you got to find your own tool, right? I can tell you that, for example, I use one tool a lot specifically for learning, which is Notebook LLM. What
Okay.
it allows you to do is you can put a piece of content
Mhm.
for to them and they will produce a podcast out of it.
Wow.
So it's the best way of learning and listening something which otherwise I had to spend hours reading. So now I can certainly use my walk in the morning to learn something new. I can then try and interpret whatever writing I'm doing and make a content piece out of it, which eventually helps me being more productive. So it goes back of getting your time back.
Nice. Anything that you would recommend in terms of creatives or demand gen?
I think that phase is still happening. I haven't seen a tool which does exactly what I wanted to do. So
Mhm.
I think in demand gen pieces, the only thing I'm saying is the A/B testing, which I earlier had to wait for it to happen and then make up my mind. I now use AI to do the A/B testing model, right? So, which is the early example I gave: personas of targeting, which messaging resonates with which persona, what is that I'm trying to go after. Also, keep in mind that just like your customer is also going to search and use as much AI as you are. So you need to always be cautious that how does your brand look on a AI tool and not just in Google,
Yeah.
right? So that thought process has to be in your system, and that's when you start focusing on the right intents to do it better.
So never spray and pray.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier it was all that model.
Yeah.
Now you can actually spray and pray, but with ChatGPT kind of tool, so you
Yeah.
can save money and effort on that.
Exactly. So, from my personal opinion, I think you're great with PR,
Mhm.
right? Because we are connected on LinkedIn,
Of course.
and I see you pretty active with what you do over there. Share some knowledgeable insight or talk about your company, sometimes even talk about yourself.
Yep.
Could you please tell us how does PR play a role for, improving your own brand visibility and at the same time as well the company?
Sure. I think I learned this in middle of about a decade, where I realized that just doing good work and hoping that everybody will find you out doesn't work like that. Secondly, whatever learnings I'm having over a period of time, I wanted to document them somewhere because I consider myself as a student of marketing, right? I would love to learn from people and exchange thoughts of what's happening, what's not happening,
Hmm.
which is the reason why I think if you look at B2B, LinkedIn is the only tool I'm aware of where ideally B2B people kind of catch up more often.
Yeah.
Because it's not that you can't use the other tools, but somehow I see quality of LinkedIn conversations way more better than any of the other tools which work very well for B2C. Now, I think also marketing has evolved from only one function or tactic kind of marketing to an overall ecosystem of it. So AR, PR, events, content, social media is everything gets combined to it, right? And this I realized more so because when you work for big brands, you ideally would have an individual who looks after each tactic in that company. But when I started working for challenger brands, I was and I am the marketing department, which meant that before I chase the corporate to give me more funds to have an individual person doing this for me, I need to do this because I don't like the waiting game. That's when I started focusing on LinkedIn. So now I leverage LinkedIn a lot. I purposely use LinkedIn to be my social media PR for my brand, right? And why not? If I know that me and my team are doing something great on the field, whether it's events, whether a thought process, whether a content piece, I should try and do this on LinkedIn. So I don't over depend on the brand LinkedIn handle, because obviously that comes across as a product talking to you.
Yeah.
But when you do this individually, I think you're able to humanize it better
Yeah.
and do it much better. So my recommendation to everybody is, one, leverage the power of LinkedIn, because you like it or not, all of us have a brand.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking you're building a brand, the answer is you already have a brand,
Yeah.
but you haven't done anything about it. So start leveraging the power of LinkedIn just to understand who you are. And of course, you'll iterate up and down, but you should definitely leverage the power of LinkedIn.
Great. I always believe that out of sight is out of mind,
Hmm?
and that
Agree?
definitely defines it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll start a little rapid fire.
Okay.
Quick questions. One marketing belief you've changed your mind about.
I think the biggest belief that when I joined B2B marketing was that it's a very, very slow, sluggish kind of marketing, and it has no fun the way B2C have. But what I have now, over a period of 2 decades, believed is that none of the B's in B2B stand for boring. So why do we make it so? Right? We should be making B2B as much fun and interesting the way B2C does it. And what's stopping us is only us. So don't believe the B stands for boring. It's much more than that. And it all depends on marketers like us to make it more interesting.
Exactly. Or, come and join Atul's team.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
One tool you rely on the most, or you can't do without.
I think the tools kept changing,
Yeah.
but for now, absolutely ChatGPT. I think a lot can happen on ChatGPT. I'm using it to learning for everything,
Yeah.
professionally, personally, and it helps you save a lot of time. So yeah, ChatGPT for now.
One trend you don't buy into.
Oh, I love the clickbait thought process where people say this is dead, right? So I heard telecalling died about 10 years back.
Yeah.
Then I heard B2B marketing died few months back. Then I heard that CMOs are not gonna be a position where the CMO average tenure has reduced to 18 months, and that particular designation is dead. I don't like that particular trend. So I think stop calling things which are dead. The whole idea is that every role is evolving now,
Yeah.
right? Which is what we need to focus on. And if I may go on that, for example, if you look at CMO, I want to say that CMOs, the whole role thought process is moved forward. And rather than calling CMOs as chief marketing officers, we should call them chief mutiny officers.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, picture this. You enter a boardroom, you have all the senior leaders sitting there, and you've got one person with an eye patch, with a hook on the right hand side and a parrot sitting on the left hand side, and that's your CMO. And what I mean by that is that we need to make sure that the CMOs don't allow the boat of your organization to become stagnant. The job of the CMO is actually shaking up the boat and directing it into a direction of progress, right? Because anything that doesn't move eventually dies a slow death. So you as a CMO's job is to push it in the right direction, be the headlight of the car so you can show the possibility of where this organization can go, and not maintaining the status quo, which I'm sure other functions are already doing.
Very nicely put, Atul. Coffee or tea while planning campaigns?
Oh, coffee for sure, all the way.
How many cups of coffee a day?
I've lost count, but I like my French press coffee. I take it in a certain way. I love coffee.
Very nice. So, one thing B2B marketers should stop doing immediately, from your experience.
I think stop looking at the marketing with the rear view lens of it. I've realized that a lot of times, especially B2B marketers, focus and keep their attention on the rear view mirror to take the organization forward. If you can't drive only looking at the rear view, why plan and strategize only looking at the rear view? So, one thing that they should stop doing is whatever has been happening for a long time should continue happening in a certain way,
You
right?
need to evolve.
Exactly. And if I unpack this, for example, I say that if you look at organizations now, there are three certain characters which dissuade from innovation to happen, right? The first are chiefs, second are priests, and third are thieves. And what I mean by that, and you will relate to these people when you look at them, right? The first, which is chiefs, which means these are those leaders who demand certainty before you invest in anything. So if the marketer goes to them and says, I want to test this out, the chief would say, what's the ROI? Show me when it's going to happen and who has done this before I commit to it. And that's where the first innovation shot is taken. The second are priests. These are people who believe in the old school way of doing it. We've been doing this for a long time. That's where it works. I don't want to test anything new. Because for them, it's scriptures that matter. And that's in the second bullet that the innovation takes. Third is thieves. They're smart people like you and me who will never say no. But they'll say, you know what, I don't have the budget right now. Or I've committed this manpower to somebody else and that's when I'll give it you. So they will suck the oxygen out of that idea till the time that idea dies a slow death. So it is these three people, and whoever is listening to it, you think of this when you are in the boardroom and talking to people and you find some of those. Now, bear with me. I'm not saying that these are all people who are villains here, because they are doing this for a reason. The chief wants to ensure that his or her bonus for the next quarter happens. Priest's existence depends on it, because if he or she doesn't say that, then what's the use that priests have? And thieves are always smart because they will go in the direction that the business is moving forward, right? But as marketers, our job is not only to give ideas, but
Yeah.
actually allow that idea to sustain just long enough so that the world around you starts seeing value, right? So your job goes beyond being a manager, but actually being a protector of that flame till that idea comes to execution and starts showing results.
Very nicely put. Chief, priests, and thieves.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'll look out for these guys in the room.
Sure.
One thing you think people should start doing in the next 30 days, I think, from your experience.
Sure. I think if one thing you can take away from this conversation is start trying out new things,
Yeah.
right? I think that, and whichever function you belong to, but at least as a marketer, you should take liberties which are not given to you, right? And I love the leadership principle from Amazon, which is two-way doors. What it means is always try out new ideas, so much so that till the time it doesn't spoil the reputation of the brand. Two-way doors is you open a door, try something new. If it doesn't work, shut the door. But it shouldn't discourage you from opening doors. My job as a marketer on a quarterly, yearly basis is, and I judge myself, my KPI to myself is, what did I try new in this quarter? If I am not failing enough, I'm not trying. So what I say is, fail frequently, fail forward.
Fail forward.
But you got to fail. Otherwise, you're not trying hard enough.
And fail early.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. What do you feel is outdated about, or will be outdated in B2B marketing in the next decade,
Oh,
or
I
rather,
think
next 2 years? I think a decade is too far away.
I agree. I
Yeah.
think when I say, again, what would be outdated, I think anything and everything can be outdated. Like I said, people have been saying this is dead, that is dead. I think everything in B2B marketing eventually will evolve. And you got to evolve with time with it. You got to understand the waves that are happening. One thing is for sure that I think having multiple functions or one person dedicated for each function in marketing is something which will eventually phase out. I think the full funnel marketing is what marketing department have to move forward. which is unless and until you have one person or one person's team which is looking after the whole journey from start to end for the customer, you're not able to do justice to the whole plan. So stop over investing in single departments of marketing, but start investing in a single pane of glass view from top to bottom, because sales demands it, your customer appreciates it better, and you will have better ROI if you do that.
Very nicely put. I have one last question.
Mhm.
What do you love about B2B marketing? That
Oh.
you're still around doing it for the last 20 years.
No, great question, Rishi. I think I love everything about B2B marketing.
Mhm.
You're absolutely correct. I think the moment I discovered B2B marketing, I realized that there's a lot of potential. I always believe that you should try and leave things in a better space than how you got it. So my end goal in mind is I want B2B marketing space to be one, fun. Secondly, very, very important in the boardroom.
Mhm.
And thirdly, I should be constantly learning. So whenever I feel either of these three are not happening for me, I purposely shift. So if you look at my career and journey, I've purposely pushed myself to go to a newer brand within tech. Tech marketing is all I know, but learn a newer field about it. So I cut my teeth into B2B marketing in HP. I spent about 5 years there, but realized I was a cog in a wheel there. I couldn't do much beyond that. Then I moved to Avaya, which was all about telephony, IP, telephony, video conferencing, because that was the time the move things were happening. Then I got into data management, because that time the world was all about data. Then cloud, because I was having a FOMO that I haven't done cloud and I did AWS, and now I'm in databases, right? So purposely keep shifting and pushing yourself forward for learning something new, because if you don't make yourself uncomfortable, you will never learn.
I think it gets too boring.
It is. And like I said, there's no B for boring in B2B.
Yeah. I mean, I before I let you go, I
Yeah.
think I should have asked you this question in the start of the
Uh-huh.
conversation. But who is Atul beyond B2B marketer? What are your hobbies? People don't know you. I know I
Sure.
see you talking about only work on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
right? But who are you as a person?
No, I think great question. I keep my personal life very hidden, but the truth is, you can live and do well in your profession only if most of your likings are in that profession.
Mhm.
So as a B2B marketer, you know me on LinkedIn, but as an individual, I still like most of the same things that I like in B2B, which is I love learning myself of newer things. I want to get excited about newer things. I read a lot. I was never a big reader before I did my MBA, and then I realized that I don't like nonfiction. When I went to my MBA, I realized I love nonfiction. The truth was I hated fiction. So now I read only nonfiction, which is something which helps me a better professional, a better person. Love podcasts. I hate wasting time. So I'm always either hearing something or learning something if I'm not spending time with my family. But otherwise, my whole charter is that if I'm not learning something new, then I didn't use my time well. I like to try and take some time for keeping healthy and fit. I'm not a marathon runner, which everybody nowadays is, but I still go for my regular walks. Helps me stay at peace. Kind of start my day in a good, fresh way. So yeah, that's something short about myself.
Great. And you talked about your earlier days, doing a lot of gigs and, you were emceeing.
Yeah.
Are you still open to those roles? If somebody offers you to...
I think I'm sure the Gen Z and Gen Y is way better than me. I think they took me because they couldn't find anybody better. But yeah, I should be okay doing what I'm doing right now. There are better people than me in the market for that.
Great. Pleasure talking to you, Atul.
Likewise, Rishi.
I think it was a lot of knowledge and information about B2B marketing.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a lot more to it, of course, but I think within the time frame that we have, that's
Right.
a lot of information shared. I'm sure there's a lot of takeaways for people viewing today. We would like to thank you for taking your time and sharing with us your experience that you have learned over the years on B2B marketing. And yes, and if somebody wants to know more, I'm sure Atul is more than happy to connect over LinkedIn.
Sure. Rishi,
Right.
thank you so much for having me.
Our
talking to
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.